You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If on the other hand you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 8th day of October, 2018. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you spent some quality time with the family. I did not see you in church yesterday, just because I was somewhere else. That's why. Not because you weren't there, of course. But anyway, it is Monday, another Monday, a big red radio Monday. And so we're going to talk about all that and what it means. If you were in the Telegram channel this morning, you got a heads up before our heads got, or before some people got their heads handed to them, because we were actually prepared. So, good for you. The session started out very quiet last night, and then after the opening bell this morning, as the market started to tip, well, the first half hour was strong, second half hour strong, and then when it could not, came within 1 point of hitting the weekly trading zone, not the old weekly zones, but Anyway, there you go. Cat's out of the bag, I guess. Where do we go from here? We'll talk about that shortly. Let me welcome everyone. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, a special welcome to you. We are very glad to have you with us today. I have a chart up of the S&P 500 Emini Futures. If you cannot see the chart, just go to our homepage, CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds. True story. And you'll have one-click access for the rest of the month of October. Whole month. 30 seconds for 30 days when you do it on the first day of the month. Also, we dual stream, and the redundant stream is at youtube.com/CFRN/live. Bookmark that page, and you'll always have one-click access to the show. Got a little bit of news. For the past 2 weeks, Bitcoin Core, BTC, has done precisely nothing price-wise, adhering closely to the $6,600 territory. Behind the scenes, there's been plenty of development work going on in the markets. There's been little cause for cheer or for gloom. So stable has BTC been, with its volatility hitting a 17-month low. Jokes have been circulating of how Bitcoin now constitutes the world's most decentralized stablecoin. Some have speculated that the lack of action is evidence of Bitcoin maturing as an asset class. There must be an echo in here. The Bloomberg intelligence commodity strategist, Mike McGlone. Hi, Mike. What do you do for a living? Oh, well, thanks for asking. I'm a Bloomberg intelligence commodity strategist. Wow. Well, I am glad I asked. When you have a new market, it will be highly volatile until it establishes itself. There are more participants, more derivatives, more ways of trading, hedging, and arbitraging. It's too early to tell whether this interpretation is correct or whether BTC is simply taking a breather before sprinting to its next support level or resistance. And while BTC has remained stable, the same cannot be said, of course, for all coins. ZRX has been one of the best performers over the last 24 hours, up 12% after rumors of a Coinbase listing resurfaced. It's been all but confirmed for months that the Ethereum-based relaying and governance token would be added to Coinbase at some stage, but screenshots showing Ox appearing on the site's transactional report section have convinced speculators that a listing is imminent. News of another stable coin is not news in itself, for such events have become daily occurrences in the crypto space. The entity behind the latest dollar-pegged token is of interest. PricewaterhouseCoopers is the world's second largest professional services firm and ranked as a Big Four auditor right behind Deloitte. Has collaborated with crypto lending platform Crude to launch a new USD stablecoin. When what do they call them? Bean counters? I don't know. When PricewaterhouseCoopers gets behind something, hard to ignore that. Easier to ignore some of the governments getting involved, but not these guys. Not Pricewaterhouse. Not that they've never been caught with their finger in the jar or gotten in a little trouble. Of course they have. That's just the way it goes. Crypto enthusiasts have started talking about a new site that ranks cryptocurrencies by their liquidity rather than their total circulating supply. and examine support levels. You can check it out at coinmarketbook.cc. When I said I had a little bit of news, there is just a little bit out today, other than the Dow dropping 200 points. Let's take a look at the numbers around the world. These are the cash markets. We'll go to the futures shortly, momentarily. In the US, the Dow is currently down 147 points. NASDAQ down 113. S&P 500 down 18, and the Russell 2000 down 12.5. The biggest hit there is the NASDAQ, which is down almost 1.5%. In the commodity basket, crude oil lost 39 cents so far, trading 73.95 last. Gold down $16.20, trading 11.8960 last. In the Asian markets, the Nikkei closed the session down 191 points, almost 1%. The Shanghai, I was rooting for the Shanghai the other day. The Shanghai down 104, and for the Shanghai, that's almost 4%, 3 3/4. Hang Seng closed the session down 370 points, which is well over 1%. Last but not least, in the European markets, FTSE down 85 at the close, a little over 1%. DAX down 164, well over 1%. And the CAC down 59, again, over 1%. So there you have it. It is a red day in Asia, a red day in Europe, and it's a red day here in the US of A. No green on the screen except the VIX. And there you have it. There's your numbers and a little bit of news. We'll be back to talk some more here in just a few moments. Michael will pop in right now and give us a recap. Are you ready, Michael?
I am ready. I am indeed. Here we go. All right.
Okay, are you ready to grab them?
I got them already.
You got them? Okay.
I got them.
All right.
Ready to go. You ready?
Yep. No. No, I don't
Okay.
see them.
You don't see my charts?
Yeah, now I do. Now I
Okay.
got 'em.
All right. All right.
Dope. There you go.
Here we go. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, Columbus Day, the 8th day of October 2018. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page here at CFRN.net. The home page. Right over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial. Apply.cfrn.net. Or you can scroll down and click on that free 5-day trial or that, or there's another one down below. Anyway, no matter how you do it, you're going to end up at this page where all we ask for is your email, your first name, how you found us. Hit that submit button. Once you do that, it'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So you got to click that link. Okay? Okay. Spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is the 8th day of October 2018. And we made 1 tick on the euro and 10 ticks on crude. That put us at 106.25. Today it took 54 minutes and 6 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 106.50. And we took a total of 6 trades today. And we are at a nice even number here on the gross monthly profit of $1,200. That's over 6 days, averaging $200 per day. so far this month. On the year now, we're at 26,600. That's over 185 days, averaging 143 per day. 143 per day. Okay. Okay. Now, we didn't do anything with gold today. I drew in this this range that it was in pretty much all morning. See, it popped out of the range right here. Made that big leg down right at the end of the session this morning. And then it came back and went right back into the range. We had one trade right here that we took in gold before we realized we were in a range. We had that one trade right there that we took, and we had a break even on it. Now, I had actually established this range. It wasn't there. It was back here. I don't know how that got moved, but it was back there that the range started. It was actually before then. It was back here. That was the range. I don't know how that thing got moved. But anyway, we broke out of it. We took one opportunity, and we ended up with a break even on that one. Okay. The euro. Let's see. On the euro, we had one trade right here where we got one tick. There was one that we missed right here, and look how flat it's been since. Nothing in the euro during the break. Crude oil. Hang on. Let the data collect. There we go. There we go. In the crude, we started out here. We got one tick profit on the first one. We missed one right there that would have given us a little bit of profit. We had 2 ticks profit there, get us to +3. 2 more ticks to get us to +5. We missed that short right there, and then we grabbed this for 5 ticks to get us to +10. We missed one right there and there. And there. And then during the break, let's see here. During the break, there was a long opportunity there, and it turned around, gave a short off the BBC right there. It gave just enough to get the stop to break even, and that was it. That was it for the crude oil. We ended with +10 on crude, +10. The ES, well, the ES was a dog until the European markets closed. Okay, they don't celebrate Columbus Day. Okay, and these are actually last week's zones here too. But starting out here, there was a long opportunity right here on the ES at 935 that I missed. Then the cycle was going down too steep there. Then it changed directions. There was a momentum short right here that I missed. And then the slingshot was all messed up. And then this is all during the break. All this right here. There was a shorting opportunity there. A long opportunity here. Got really choppy, and that's it. And that was it on the morning session. Okay, let me fix this. And put this week's zones up there, because those are last week's zones. Hang on. Okay. Anyway, that was it for the morning session. Let's see, do we have any questions? No, there are no questions. Okay, that was it for the morning session. So, here's what we got. Today, as I said, is the 8th day of October 2018. We had 1 tick in the euro, 10 ticks in crude, 106.25. That's one contract, 2 hours. And I missed a bunch of trades, and I don't think any of the trades that I missed were losing trades. Today it took 54 minutes and 6 trades to get to the goal for the day, and we took a total of 6 trades. So on the month now, we're at $1,200 That's over 6 days, averaging $200 per day per contract. On the year, we're at $26,600. That's over 185 days, averaging $143 per day per contract. That is 1 contract, 2 hours per day. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page at CFRN.net. Right over here in the right-hand column where it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. Click on that, or you can click here or here, any one of those places, and it's going to bring you to this page where all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click the submit button. Once you hit that submit button, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. Okay, so you must click that confirmation link. All right. All right. With that, we can pass it back out to Studio A in fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
Yes.
And John's out in the audience as well.
Okay, great. Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 54 minutes and 6 trades to get to $106.50
Per contract.
per contract. 1 contract, 2 hours per day. And I missed probably 6 trades.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, yeah, the session started out very quiet last night, and then it picked right up.
Yes, yes it did.
Our heads up was just in time when we posted out in the at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Our buyers exhausted after the first 30-minute candle as we approach the weekly trading zone overhead on the ES. Its inability to power through and hold a pullback will most likely bias another leg to the downside, possibly to the weekly trading zone below. It did, and some. So, what was originally a 20-point session shortly after the open has increased now. We got a high up around 28.98 and 28.68. So it expanded about 10 points. We had a 20-point range and when we talked, and then it opened up to 30 now. Let's see what's going to happen from here. Anything else before we go to John?
No, nothing else right at the moment.
Okay.
But it's good that the range expanded.
Yes.
That is good stuff.
Very much so. And we're still inside of that price channel from last week, and we could stay inside of that thing for a while. It's drawn on a 30-minute chart, but it's a big picture. It's got the potential to hold this market captive for a while. It is a descending channel. So, okay, did you open John's mic yet?
Yep, I just did.
Hey, John, welcome to the show.
John.
Are you there? I guess you're not there.
Not yet. Not yet.
Last night on the Concierge Trade Alerts.
This is the gem code.
There you go. Yeah, I
There's
can
John.
barely hear you.
Well, how do we include that into this deal?
No, just put him back on hold, I guess. He's on
No,
another call.
it's a very smart idea. And listen, thanks very much for coming with the
Okay, I'll mute him up again.
I think he's getting ready to hang up the call.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well.
All right, the S&P last night said to consider selling.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
886.
All right, we'll see if you can put.
2886, which would have been right about here. Is that you, John?
No, I shut him back off.
Oh.
Because he was still talking.
Yeah.
There he is. Okay, he's open again now. And it sounds like he's off that call.
John, you ready? No. Here, just put him on mute. Let it go.
Okay.
All right, 2886. Now the first drop off 2886 took us down to a swing low of 82.50. Gives you an idea of the kind of range that we're dealing with here compared to what we've had in a couple weeks past. 2886. This is how I've had to scale the chart to get a sufficient amount of information in. And then this swing low right here, 82.50. So that's 3.5 S&P points. Right there. Then we get back above the trigger. And we don't pull, we just kind of roll along. Take another drop, and we're moving to 28.78, which is that one tick above this zone. We made the run up, got within a tick, or a point, I'm sorry, not a tick, and that's when the buyers just kind of just threw in the towel. It just rolled over. And so this drop from 86 to 81.50, 5.5, so we got 3.5, 5.5. And one last time. Price gets back above the trigger because important prices and important areas are almost always tested. And this time came through with some determination, and we dropped from 86 to 66. We had a 3.5 point move, a 5.5 point move, and a 20 point move. We never get out of the swing high or swing low. No one does, because you don't know it's the swing high or swing low until after the fact. So if you get out there, it's probably accident or luck, fortune, good fortune. When you trail a stop, you expect to leave a little something on the table, but it is the opportunity to lock in profits. Pay yourself as the trade progresses. Why don't you give him one more try, Michael, if you're still there?
Okay, yeah, I'll give him another shot. Here we go. John.
Hey, John, are you there?
Well, we'll just leave it open for a minute, because sometimes he fumbles around it.
Yeah, that's Alright. Okay, so here is the Dow. Now, when I tell you guys on Thursday, when I reveal the weekly trading zones to the community at large and the audience at large, partners get them Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Most Mondays. Some Mondays they're right before the bell, but for the most part. Thursday, I put them up for everyone's edification, and so as I tell you every Monday, as you can see, if you had these on the Globex Open last night, what did price do? Well, it did what price does. It went from zone to zone to zone, zone to zone to zone to zone to zone, back up to the zone, and now it's working its way back down to the zone. So from 365 to 460, that's 95 points. If it were 100, that would be 500 per contract down, 500 per contract up, 500 per contract down, and then we drop from 360 to 290. So that would be 350 down, 350 back up, and working on 350 down. That's the Dow. Now last night on the Concierge Trade Alert said to consider selling 26,420 if the opportunity presented itself. And it did. Is that you, John?
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. So.
It's a grand entrance. 26,420. Okay. Alright. Now off the 420. Swing low of 402. 18. Typically look for a minimum 20-point move in the down. $5 a point, that gives you $100 per contract per trade. Alright. Back over the trigger, and down we go again. This time.
Hello.
John, is that you?
Oh, hey, Roberta. How you doing?
Yeah, just go ahead and put it. You can, if you're still there, just put it on.
I don't know.
420 down to a swing low.
Hostile holder. And he called me a couple of times.
326. That again would be
And he stopped, but I think he might be
almost
just thought about it. So,
100 points at $5 a
yeah,
point.
that's what I mean. It's some kind of guy. I think it might have been him, for some reason. So,
John.
yeah. Look, I think tomorrow we'll have some news that could really move the needle. So.
There we go. Alright. 26,420. So you have an 18-point drop. Alright, then from 420 we make it down 326. We'll call it 9. We'll call it $450 per contract available. And important prices, important areas, almost always tested. So we go back above the trigger, hit the zone. You know, when the Concierge Trade Alerts or the L2s coincide, as they will, with not only each other, but with the weekly trading zones, that's when you have the ability to lock and load and really sort of triangulate the highest probability. We don't know what's going to happen next. I certainly don't. If you do, I want to know how you do it. But just as the weatherman can forecast, we can, based on historical observance and an understanding of the indicators that we created and the methodology that we put together, we know the market does the same thing every day, but it just does it a little bit differently. So it's kind of, every day you got to wrap your arms. There's John, so we can turn him back on. You have to wrap your arms around whatever frequency the market's broadcasting on today. Same stuff, new frequency. All right, John, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Well, believe it or not, what we outlined on Friday, excuse me, we had a late rally on Friday. In fact, we sold the VIXs near the highs. I think we mentioned that on the show, and we, caught this rally. In fact, we caught the lows on the show, if you remember, right at the bottom. Took a little bit of time to get going, but it turned out to be a pretty good rally. And we opened higher last night, on all the hype. Previously when we opened higher on a Sunday night, the market usually went up pretty dramatically, and everybody's saying it was the best week ever for Trump and all this, and with these various top of the market type stuff that's been coming out. including Trump. It's quite interesting because I don't think we've seen Trump at 2 days 51% popularity before in his presidency, and we definitely haven't seen him at 47% disapprove. That is a new low on the disapproval side. That is really quite a big deal, and he's broken out well above Obama's previous year, if you like. So there's something pretty big going on in terms of people are coming around to Trump, more and more to Trump. And as you know, I believe there's a hidden 10% in on top of that on the Rasmussen. So you could argue he's, and with the I mean, I don't know how they're factoring in the black support, which is supposedly 30%, 40%, 30 to 40% now. These are very major factors, because even though people might say they're going to vote because they're Democrat or whatever, when they get in the voting booth and they, if they listen, he's got 4 million new jobs. That's 4 million new voters potentially. He's got an economy like never before. I mean, we've said it here on this show more than any place on earth. The real story is we're at all-time record lows in unemployment, and we've been there for the last year, repeatedly, and we're hitting new all-time record lows in unemployment, the likes of which we've never seen before on a population-adjusted basis, which is, it's really remarkable. And even if something really bad happens, this is probably going to be sustained for a while now. I will say one thing. We talked about the dangers of this market, and it kind of got a little bit scary this morning because we opened lower and we sold off. We found a bottom. We reversed up, sort of that 10 o'clock thing, went to about 10:30, and then maybe 11 started giving it back. Then we started selling off pretty sharply, and here we are down 100 plus on the NASDAQ, and that's after a 30-point rally. So, we were down 130, we were down 200 plus on the Dow. This is, I hate to say it, but this is shaping up in the same way as we predicted on Friday it could happen, where we, and by the way, last night, the market, took a while to break, but once it started breaking, it really broke sharply, and we talked about the contagion, exogenous events, things like that. The contagion starting in Asia and going to Europe and starting and coming onto the US, and that's exactly what's happening. And we haven't had that happen in a long time. I've been talking about the drug sector. The LABU is down to making new lows today, down to 73. Tesla is in all kinds of trouble. It's making new lows today after rallying in the first. Amazon is making new lows today. I mean, it's really not a very good picture. Can we recover from this today? You can never say never. The Fed, what they're going to do, try to do it.
Before the end of the year.
Say again, sorry?
I said, you said, can we recover?
No, I'm talking about before the end of the day. Yeah, because look, if we don't recover before the end of the day,
but what about if we start the year? This whole, little sell-off that that channel that I had up a minute ago, and on Friday we drew it. I mean, that thing could take, we could be in that channel for a while, John.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, absolutely. No, look, we're in dire straits here because, you've got a big drop in 3% down in China, more than 3%. And
the Hang Seng down 4%, I think it was.
Yeah.
We just went over
so
those numbers,
this hasn't happened in a long time, and if we roll over this afternoon and start selling off like we did in Monday, October 19th, 1987, I mean, we could be down 500, 600 points before you know it. We could be down 1,000 points today. I wouldn't rule anything out. And if we come in with a big gap tomorrow morning and have another sell-off, hopefully we'll get a rebound, you know, sometime between maybe 10:30 and 12:30, like where we are right now, something like that. But we are in a very dangerous phase here, because even as we speak, the market's gone back to a sell mode, and the VIX is starting to perk up again. The golds dropped down this morning, but I'd be a buyer of gold here. I think the metals, the golds are turning, the gold stocks are turning, and potentially they could reverse substantially higher today, or maybe tomorrow, or overnight. Yeah, kind of a reversal of what happened last night. The dollar, I think the dollar has topped. I think it put in a secondary high overnight, and we are definitely starting to break down on the dollar right now. We're not running away down just yet, but it could turn into that later on today. So coffee, we mentioned last week, it got up to 112 today. That's you know, it's a hell of a bounce since our lows at 95. I'd say the coffee's, I think it's bottomed. The cocoa may have bottomed today as well. So, you know, the sugar is acting well. The sugar is acting real bullish, actually. So you got the soybeans and the sugar and the coffee and the cocoa. You know, this the inflation. Look, the worst case scenario is, you know, an 87 type event, and you absolutely have to be mindful of the possibility of that happening. You know, everybody, including Ray Dalio and all these guys who, you know, a lot of respect for. I mean, Jim Paulson was on this morning, and I mean, you know, he probably can't say sell on air because it causes a panic, but you know, he didn't look too healthy. He didn't look too good, and they were sort of trying to pin him as to what to do in the market. I wish he should have just come out and said sell, because, you know, or diversify. I mean, what does that mean? You know, everybody's probably diversified up to the wazoo right now. So but you know, when you're in a situation like this, there's no time for heroics. You know, you could lose a lot of hard-earned capital and a hard-won performance of the last couple of years, because, you know, Ray Dalio, even the Fed is saying, oh, you know, you know, there's nothing bad for another couple of years. This probably is going to keep going for a couple of years. You start hearing that too much, you know, you start thinking, you know, what could go wrong. And normally when people start talking like that, you're probably topping out. And we are topping out. I mean, look, Amazon, for all its greatness, is acting really, really badly today, and it's quite dangerous where it's at right now. If we don't get a rally this afternoon, if they don't nip this thing in the bud, and it sort of starts making new lows, it could come unraveled pretty quickly, especially being on a kind of a holiday.
Oh yeah, what is it, Columbus Day?
Yeah, and if we
kids are out of school, so
happy Columbus Day,
yeah,
and if we go into you know, a selling spiral, you know, things could just I mean, stocks could fall like stones, literally. So I'd be very, very careful here today, and I've been putting people in the VIXs over the last couple of days.
Yeah, the VIX was the only green on my screen when I went over the numbers.
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah, it was green. It's the only green.
Yeah. That's stuff that you've got on the Russell. I mean, look at it. That's very crash-like kind of action.
Well, check this out. Okay, we had a failed rally 1,
yeah.
Failed rally 2, failed rally 3, and so we had a trade out. If we get a 4th rally and it fails, and that alert number 513 was for us to go back up and touch the BBC, and then fail and continue with the trend. So look what happened. One candle. See, there's that first, second, third. This one was a few hours after, well, actually about 1 hour. No candle, candle. And then it goes to, oh, the one the live chart that I have up right now, which is, so there's that 1, 2, 3, 4. And Michael and I talked at length that day when we were waiting for this final candle. We said, now if we do find resistance at the BBC, and if this does become another failed attempt at a rally, this one could really, you know, take us down quite a distance. And so
yeah, it's acting really bad, and it's leading the rest of the markets too.
78 to 20. 78 to 20. I know, 58 point drop in the Russell. That's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Now we'll just wait for, and we'll continue to. Guys, we'll trade this until we get a bullish cross that holds. So we had bullish, but there was no trade set up. It just went back and failed and failed and failed, and little double bottom here.
Well, you know,
we'll
look,
let it rally up.
Dwayne, after
yeah.
you know, 4 or 5 of these failures, honestly, the next one probably be a vertical drop. You know, it'll be, that's the way this stuff works.
I was kind of thinking this one was going to be the vertical drop, and it still could be, because it shows no signs of that pullback yet. So
yeah. There might be a little bit of a bounce off it before it happens. You know, watch it very carefully around 2:30. Okay. Also, if we don't get a rally at 2:30, that would be a real problem.
Check this out. It took, you know, over 30-minute candles. It took 1, 2, 3, 4 hours to climb back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to climb back up. 1, 2, 3 hours, and then we got down to 2 hours. And yeah, no, this last one, it was the 1 hour, right? But it took all these hours to do back here, just one candle, and then rolled right over. I mean, it was just so picture perfect, like we orchestrated it, which we didn't.
Well, yeah, you know, and look, October the 1st was the high, just like I said, it's the high of the month. And I'm telling you, this is a spooky kind of repeat of 1987 here, exactly how this thing is playing out. And look, we could go through a mild 87 this week, and we could go through the real deal next week. You know, once you sort of start down on this track, it could get worse and worse. So you have to keep that in mind as well. The
if we break below 1620, guys, I know it's early in the week, but I'm just going to throw this out for you. If we take out this double bottom, if we don't go for the pullback right now, if this becomes some kind of a momentum drop this afternoon, the way John's suggesting that it might, 1620 down to 1605. Could it get worse? It could. If it gets worse, getting worse looks to us like that. That's what do we got? 10% that can be considered a correction.
yeah.
And how many points do you think the S&P or the Dow would need to drop for somebody to start screaming the C word, capitulation?
Well, we already mentioned it last week, so.
I know, but I mean, for, you know, everybody on for the cab driver to be talking about.
Well, I think if we're down, we haven't been down 400 for a long time. So if we're down 400 plus today, I think that's gonna be very scary. We said it last week, the VIXs were gearing up for a pretty big up move, and this one could be one for the ages. I mean, you know, this thing could really it's not looking good. It's not looking good. We're almost on the lows of the day now on the Nasdaq, making new lows on Google, Amazon, Twitter, Micron, Maxim, Nvidia. You know, Apple is not looking very good either. Tesla's looking terrible. You know, it's just awful.
So, ask you, does Tesla get sold off for points or for parts at some point? Or do you think
I think Tesla's in a lot of trouble. I think their problem now is that, you know, they had a big backlog of orders for the Tesla 3, which they're probably finally delivering. But after that, the lack of demand for Tesla might be their undoing. You know, might be a real problem for them. So I think that's the risk with Tesla right now. You know, I was going to mention this. I might as well mention it on the show.
Sure.
You know how you, I'm sure you've had occasion when you've somebody in real life that you know personally pops up on a TV screen, and you know, it kind of jumps out at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the first time it happened to me, it was myself. But anyway, go ahead.
It's happened to me. It's happened to me a few times, quite a few times actually. I've even had a doctor, one of my doctors, 10 years ago, popped up on 60 Minutes one night.
Oh, really? You never know. You know it's not going to be a good day when you show up at the office and 60 Minutes is in the parking lot.
He was in trouble for stem cell stuff, and then yeah, and then a fellow that I was studying with on a course, an investment course back in the 90s, he popped up on Dateline, and
over stem cells too.
I even dated a girl who actually became quite famous in Hollywood. She popped up on 2020. So anyway, guess somebody that I know personally met him in his teens. Was all over the news on the weekend. Jamal Khashoggi is the cousin of Adnan Khashoggi that I worked for. Right. If you remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
He was the richest man in the world when I worked for him, and he was a great guy. And it was very interesting watching the interviews with the people at the Washington Post, who were, you know, saying he was one of the nicest guys they've ever met or ever worked with. And he actually tried to prevent bin Laden from doing what he did and all the bad things. So he is really one of the good guys, and it's really well, I hope hasn't been killed, but it's a real tragedy what's happened to him, because you know, it may not be it's kind of like Putin. You know, it's easy to point the finger at Putin, but there are forces, you know, there's people, rogue elements in Russia who could have carried out this poisoning, and there are probably rogue elements in Saudi Arabia who could have carried out this thing as well. The people in Saudi Arabia that are the religious extremists who don't want change, and obviously that's their motivation for this whole thing with Khashoggi. So yeah, by the way, another one was the Catwoman. Remember the Catwoman? She,
Eartha Kitt, was that her name?
No, the one that had all the plastic surgery.
Okay.
I also worked for Alec Wildenstein, who was one of the wealthiest families in Europe, and she actually got introduced to Alex Wildenstein by Adnan Khashoggi, believe it or not. And she, you know, unfortunately, she was a very beautiful woman. In fact, she looked a little bit like Brigitte Bardot, and cross between Brigitte Bardot and Sharon Tate, I would say. So two of the most beautiful women in the world. So she was a very beautiful woman, and unfortunately, she had this plastic.
I don't really remember Sharon Tate, because the pictures that I remember of her are pictures you don't want to remember. The whole
Yeah.
helter-skelter business.
Yeah, right. But the prior to that, she was a really, you know, she was
Yeah, I
really
mean, was
gorgeous.
she
Yeah.
a movie actress or just a celebrity?
Yeah, she was. She was. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, this is very very troubling. I think it tells you that there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you know, he was in self-imposed exile, and he made the mistake. Sorry?
Was it a tax issue?
No. He's a journalist, and he was saying he was criticizing the government. I wouldn't say he was heavily criticizing them, but you know, when they had the roundup of all the princes, I think that's when he decided to get out of the country. And I saw an interview recently with the woman she was one of the first women who drove, I think back in 2010. And she has to live in Sydney. She's not living in Saudi Arabia anymore. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people who would like to go back there, but they're afraid to go back. And he made the mistake of going to the embassy to get papers so he could get a divorce and remarry in Turkey. And it's a little bit like if you read this, you know, I was wanting to say this as well. You know, the Skripal thing, the Skripal case, the poisoning case, is actually a riveting. You know, there's some books just come out on that. And this guy was a master spy. That's why he was poisoned. He wasn't just some guy they just picked out of the blue and decided to go after. He was, you know, he was a traitor, and he was kind of tipped off that, you know, he was going to be outed, if you like. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, I'm going to be fine, you know, because remember, this was after the Soviet Union fell. I think this was in the 90s, or no, it was in the 2000s. And anyway, he went back to Russia, and of course he got arrested as soon as he got back in the country. Then he got sent to the Gulag, and then he got released in a spy swap. I think it was in 09 or 11, you know, that big spy swap they had. But they still decided to go after him because apparently he's not only spying for 4 different countries. So he's really, you know, he's definitely in it up to his eyeballs, and he probably has a lot of contacts in Russia, and he's a lot of intel that he's able to get a hold of. So he's a master spy, and that's why what happened to him. And in a way, Jamal Khashoggi made the same mistake last week, going to the Saudi, you know, basically going onto Saudi territory, you know, when he is potentially vulnerable to being kidnapped or executed or whatever, you know. And so, but the same thing happened to the guy from Interpol going back to China. You know, obviously they don't like what he was doing somewhere along the way. And I mean, this is the head of Interpol, can you believe it? So there's a lot of skullduggery going on around the world. And but the Skripal story is really something. And actually, it was you know, the other thing we mentioned. I was watching a couple of things about Anthony Bourdain, and you know, I remember I said it's all about the money and the woman. And you know, a couple of weeks before he split from this Asia Argento, he paid her, you know, he paid this settlement of 375 grand. And you know, he's on some kind of video on YouTube talking about his drug problem and his depression and stuff like that. Right. So you can imagine how something like that could have consumed him. And because he was also saying, you know, how lucky he was to have this job and everything, and you know, and then he must have got just totally wound up over it, and maybe she dumped him or he dumped her, whatever. You know, they parted, and you know, he just, remember, she was a rebound off his marriage, split from a marriage recently too, so he had quite a few problems to get through. And I think just got to him too much and ended up doing himself in. But I think the drugs probably had a lot to do with it, because maybe he got back on the heroin or something. And once you start down that path, you know, maybe you can't get out of it, you know. So
yeah, that's a true story.
Yeah.
This quit.
By the way, on the gold, on the gold stocks charts, it looks like we're making a huge kind of a head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders bottom, and we're making a double right shoulder today. Now we've had a bit of a rally off the lows, and what I think might happen is we might get a retest, not necessarily the new lows during the day, but maybe halfway down or something. But if we start turning back up before the close and look like we're going to close stronger, I'd be inclined to take a shot at the metals here, the metal stocks and the golds in general today, because you know, if we do make a reversal overnight and the golds are up tomorrow, we could make a kind of an island bottom today. And I think coffee is an interesting example of how we can go from a very weak market a few weeks ago, literally 3 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. We hit 95, looking, you know, just every time we rallied, we started making new lows. And then we hit, if you remember, we said we thought 95 might be it. Then it went, bounced to 98, I think, back to 97, and then it really took off, went above 100. And this morning it got to 112 plus. And now it's completely reversed. Every dip is being bought. And just, you know, I mean, imagine if something like the gold, which is suffering from the same problem that coffee had 3 or 4 weeks ago, was to suddenly reverse and go up 10%. I mean, we've gone from 95 to 112. That's a lot more than 10%. It's like that's a 17% move. So, you know, imagine if something like that happened to gold. And speaking of which, the, you know, Stanley Roach, who used to be the head of Morgan Stanley, is a big guy over in China. He thinks, I mean, this guy is the last guy on earth to talk about inflation. And he thinks that inflation could hit out of the blue very rapidly. Because of this, because he says that the new Mexico-Canada-US agreement is going to disrupt the Chinese supply chains, and it's going to upturn a whole bunch of stuff in the world that's probably going to be impacted by higher prices. And you've got don't forget, you've got all the steel prices are higher through the tariffs and everything. And this just hasn't filtered into the economic system just yet. This week we've got the CPI and the PPI coming out. So, you know, if they're any kind of an upside surprise, I think you're going to see the gold take off like a rocket. So, and we could, just in the same way as the VIX, you know, a week ago the VIX was having trouble rallying. It was, you know, down in the dumps. Look at it today. You know, it's jumped from 25 and a half, 26 to 30 in a nanosecond, and it's certainly showing you know, what can happen. So and you know, the premium is only just starting to come into the VIX. In other words, up until today, nobody really believed this sell-off is going to happen. Now, fortunately, we are digging in a bit here. So, you know, let's see, you know, how far we can get back up in the next hour or two. Look, if we're able to reverse with the same force that we reversed earlier this morning and get back, you know, to I mean, can we get from 121 down 120 to zero or back to positive on the NASDAQ today? You can't rule it out. If they do that, they're probably going to nip this decline in the bud. But if we don't, you know, if we close anywhere down here, it's not going to look good. And if we close anywhere lower, it's going to look worse. So if it closes higher, it might not look so bad. So those are really the three kind of options today ahead of us. The oil, we did put it, we got down overnight, we put out a buy, and it's actually, we've actually called two rallies and 2 sells on this thing, but it's back in a buy mode now. I think the oil is probably potentially going to pop more on this storm with the oil rigs and stuff shutting down possibly. So, and also the natural gas took off from the high 20s a week or 2 ago, and it's turned very strong in the last few days, the natural gas. As you know, we've said that the natural gas, unbeknownst to a lot of people, the reserves of natural gas are probably the tightest they've been in decades, or since the early 2000s, when natural gas took off on its way to $15 or $18 a cubic foot. We're only at 3 right now, but, or 3.25. But I think this year, especially with a cold winter, we're probably going to run into the $5 or $6 per cubic feet on natural gas. So there's probably a double in natural gas ahead of us, and I think we're already on our way to that happening, to that's starting to happen.
Well, crude Sunday nights has become a sleeper of a night for crude, and I just had crude up, and here it is. Hey, let's see. Last night, Globex opened right here. This is the first 30-minute candle, and then we hit the zone, and just it's 30-minute candles. Every 2 candles is an hour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We pull away just enough to create some opportunity, and from 73.45 we managed to put in a low at 73.07, which works out to roughly just shy, I think, of $400 per contract available. And then for crude on the long side,
it looks kind of bullish there, doesn't it, the crude?
I think it's getting ready to rumble. But what I don't know if it's going to be able to. Now this is last week's zone. The current zones will be out for the community on Thursday, as always. But I'm looking at this week's zones, and well, here's what's about to happen. We're about to take out a weekly trading zone and prove to the market that we're going higher. And if we take out that zone, then that's still going to keep us below this high. So it's kind of make or break, like it was this morning for the S&P. The S&P right here, I typed into the Logic 247 active channel on this candle right here. I said we're a point away from the new weekly trading zone, and if we can't close above it and convincingly hold a pullback, we could roll over and drop to the zone below at, well, this is last week's zones, but they're in the same neighborhood, and as you can see, we even overshot that some. And we still didn't reach the bottom of this channel. We got to the middle, and once you get to the middle, they say 50% you're going up, but 50% back down, and we just kind of rolled sideways here for an extended period of time. That's on the S&P. Now, overall, for last week, where did it go? There it is. Here's how we finished up the week last week, John. We had 92 actionable alerts. There was a total of 118, but none of them ever actually triggered. They didn't touch the entry price. If it touches the entry price, then I consider it sold out or stop out if it doesn't make it to its target. Although in a in an environment where you're buying or selling on a stop, merely touching doesn't guarantee, but for the record, I just think, and integrity's sake, it's better that I count them for the record as a stop out. But anyway, once you weed out the no triggers and the opens, there were 92 actionable alerts, and that's quite a bit over the course of a week. I wasn't aware we had put out quite as many. Now, of those 92 actionable alerts, 57 reached the full target. Now that's whether it's 1 target, 2 targets, 4 targets. And I explained in the channel last night that if I was just trying to put W's in the column, that I would not put out those extended staggered trades. But if it's what I see, if it's what appears to be what the market is attempting to do, then I want to convey that to you, not put some kind of, you know, notch in my ego or something. And so 57 ran into the full target. Again, on some alerts, that's 1 target, 2 target, 3 target, usually not more than 4. So 57 of them made it all the way, and 17 reached the first target of a multi-target trade, or if there's only 1 target, 60% or better. So I've tried to be pretty strict on that. I mean, the rules haven't changed since we wrote them, and out of the 92 actionable, 74 were profitable, 18 were in fact stopped out. And so that gave us our probability factor of the week, 80. Last week it was 78. But the quantity of alerts were not nearly as great on the 78 week as they were on the 80. And something that I pointed out to you guys over the weekend in the channel and in the discussion channel. Now this was a concierge alert, but we'll just say it was a Logic 247 alert. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. If 2886, if it comes down and hits the target, I am going to record that as reached target. But then as price gets back above the trigger, triggers again and drops even below that target and gets back above the trigger and then drops yet a 3rd time. In the official record, we don't take credit for these or for these, so we've just tried to keep it as transparent, integrity as is, and it's an open book. Anyone, you know, who is a subscriber can go in at any time and have a look at the books and see what alerts have been put out, what time they were put out, you know, all of the information, any additional notes and comments. Like I usually put some comments that should help you overall in trading each and every day. But these numbers here represent us being on the right track. Now, anyone out there that's still looking for that one thing that gives you 100% success on every trade, yeah, probably starting to kind of figure out that that doesn't really exist. Not in the real world. Not in the world of trading. And so, with a probability factor last week of 78 and this week of 80, I brought up Trump the other day. It's like he's gotten all these things straightened out. What's he going to do next? You know, something's got to appear on the scene to challenge him, and I'm sure it will, as it probably will me. But as far as, like, you know, working and strategizing and honing, it would be an unrealistic expectation to think that when you're pushing out 92 real-time alerts as they happen 24/7 across a trading week, yeah, you're not getting above 80. I mean, that's just starting to be an unrealistic expectation. So, and past performance, no guarantee of future results. We're in the 8th week, I guess it is now. Yeah, we finished week 7. That was the raw data dump on Friday, so we're into week 8, and including the 3 weeks of beta, that's 11 weeks total, and our numbers have been pretty consistent on weeks where there are more alerts, weeks where there are less alerts. This number has been, it's ranged, I think, from 70, I think the lowest was 72, and the highest is 80. I think we're probably about 76, 77, but again, I can't just rest on my laurels and say, all right, just, you know, do what you do, and you'll get the same number next week. Well, you have to do your best work every day on every alert. As soon as you start taking things for granted, and forget about it. So these are all mapped out. If you're in the active channel, if you're not there when the trade triggers and goes to its target, you owe it to yourself to go in there, pull up your chart, and walk it through. Walk that thing through, because you have to develop the level of confidence that I have, because that's when you'll not only be able to take better advantage of the opportunity in front of you, but to possibly do better than I, because all you got to do is wait for them to come down the pipeline and then execute and manage. And I don't mean that like, oh, that's all you got to do. That's your part, okay? I hand you a perfectly healthy, grown from seed trade, and I just ask that as you take it home, that you be good to it and not kill it, because it's healthy when it leaves here. If you manage it properly, use all of the tools that we've given you, you'll be just fine. And these numbers kind of speak for that fact. As we rolled into this week so far, we've had an S&P which reached, it was a 10-point target from 2887 to 2877. The swing low was 2878, so we were 1 point shy of 10 points on the S&P. And then we had a Dow trade. Yeah, we sold the Dow, reached its target, number 559. There was no trigger. Number 60, no trigger. 61, gold, 1203 to 1201, and there was still no exit signal in sight when I posted this, but again, hit the target. 562, this is bonds. I'm going to probably write those off as I'm going to wait till the end of the day and write them off as a no trigger. And, then I wrote an essay for you guys, Never Lose Again. Okay, the headline's catchy, but it would be a benefit to read all of it. The NQ, we reached our target on that. And here's a video of a talk I gave you on Crude last night, and about what could potentially happen and what did happen. So this is only about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I think it would do you good to watch that. Let's see, on the Euro, we reached our final target. Now, the final target was 15625. The exit signal printed at 15400. So it ran to the target and then some, or then a lot. The Australian dollar, that one reached target. These are our zones from last week. And then we had a crude, 75.25 to 75.50. That one was a no trigger. These are carryovers from last week. This one, selling copper, we reached our first target. And this is then where I started to be concerned about what was happening in the S&P, the bellwether, and if the buyers were exhausted. And then we just rolled over, and here came the sell-off. And I haven't had a chance to recap the balance of those yet, but I just wanted to point out that last week we were blessed, had a good week again, and our week so far is off to a very, very nice start. So, and let me just say, we have some of the widest ranges this week that I have seen in, it's been months. To give you an example, on the S&P, the lowest weekly zone and our highest weekly zone are about, well, about 160 points without breaking out the calculator. From the highest zone to the lowest zone, it's about 160 points. Okay, now it doesn't mean we're going to hit the highest zone or hit the lowest zone. It means we have a playing field that is about triple the size of last week. I think last week's playing field on the S&P, it's about 100 points. And so if we look at 60, let's see, 998 minus 16, let's see. 182 point range. That's the size of our playing field this week. So does that mean, based on historical observance, we're going to see some incredibly good volatility? It does. And the VIX that John was just talking about, that points to the same thing, doesn't it, John? Volatility on the world.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to try and rally this market here right now. Is sort of digging in. I don't know how much it can rally, but it might rally quite a bit. And
we're working on our fourth 30-minute candle without taking out this low at 28. What's the low? 28.66. So we printed a 30-minute and another 30-minute, and we're just hanging. Now, this is that bullish engulfing candle that we talked about on Friday. Actually, I think I used the Dow as the example. Let's back up because John had already gone. And yeah, John, this qualify as a bullish engulfing for you? See,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lower low, you got a higher high. It's the wick thing that really becomes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's an outside day for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these are 30
outside 30 minute. Yeah.
But look at the context. I mean, the context is just beautiful. It went from zone down to the zone, down to a zone, then consolidated for 2 hours, then gave us that bullish engulfing, and it took us up, not as much as one might think, because that bullish engulfing and bearish engulfing are some of the strongest signals that a particular trend or mini trend may have come to an end. So I mean, we definitely got some bounce and some movement, and if you missed Friday's show, check it out. In the last probably hour and 45 minutes, we spent a lot of time on this signal, and we looked at a number of different markets. There's some real good technical analysis information in there for you. Now, what have we not? What have we not looked at?
You could put the NDX up there if you like, or NDX or the COMPX, the Nasdaq Composite or the Nasdaq.
Well, I mean, you just want NQ Futures.
Yeah, if you like. Yeah.
I mean, I've got those right.
Put it up on a weekly or no daily chart. Sorry.
Daily. Okay. Let me jump. Here we go. We'll use this. Go daily. NQZ. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. You see that double top, Dwayne, and see the way this thing topped out here with this triple down day, one after the other, and how we've dropped since then, with expanding ranges to the downside.
Did you say daily or weekly?
Oh, daily right now.
Okay, there's weekly. All right, but I'll go back to the daily. Okay, there we go. What are your thoughts on that?
You kind of have 4 dojis in a row there, right around the top.
Yeah. Yep, and it's sort of a rounding top.
Yeah.
That's another thing I did on Friday, guys, is I put up a 1-minute chart and I put up a 30-minute chart, and we discussed what can happen inside of a 30-minute candle, an awful lot. And we had some dojis, and we looked at those on a 30 and on a 1 minute, and you see how much price fluctuates. It always encourages you, instead of looking through a microscope for smaller time frames, to get that telescope out so that you get some altitude and get a bigger picture view. But there are times when going to that lower time frame will serve you well, especially when you're looking to execute with surgical precision, as long as you keep the big picture mentality in mind. You can be the foot soldier on the ground, jumping from foxhole to foxhole, hand-to-hand combat, but part of your brain has still got to be up in the tent with the general, with the cigar, with the sherry, with the maps, and having that clear, calm state of mind where you can make the best decision. When somebody's coming at you with a bayonet, it's often hard to think straight. So you're picking up in the when you're ready to trade, get down on the field. Last night on the NQ, let me do this. I haven't drug it up for you guys to get your screenshot on the Concierge Trade Alerts. So if you want those, go ahead and grab them. And now you wanted me to pull the NQ up, John, which I did, and you wanted on a daily. What particularly did you? Here it is, right there, the daily. What do you want? What do you want to highlight?
Well, I just thought it was, we haven't. It's the first sort of double top we've had in a long time. Maybe we got that little baby double top back in July, August.
Yeah,
that was taken out to the upside. That was a kind of false flag breakout. But this one is it's a longer affair. It's taken about 7 weeks to make, a couple of months to play out.
And it's this trend line today. I mean, that's violated, and it's, if it's going to do a Trader Vic, it's going to be a while. We could, let's do some fibs from this swing low up to the swing high, and we've dropped to the 62 from the swing low to this double top swing high. Back to the 62. So the 62 holds, or it doesn't. If it doesn't, then we're back down visiting the lows. The 62 holds, then we work our way back up. But keep in mind that the backside of this trend line is going to be as much of an obstacle at that point as it was support here, 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 and here. The NASDAQ was down, the percentage on it was pretty substantial. Let me look at it right now. The percentage on the NASDAQ right now, down 1.5%. That's the biggest loss in the U.S. markets. Although in the Asian markets, Shanghai was down almost 4%. Hang Seng lost 1%, and Nikkei lost 1%. But Asia got hit hard. In the UK, the DAX lost 164. And the biggest loser here at home so far today, other than gold, would be the NASDAQ, which is down 1.5%. Anything else you want to cover?
Well, we're getting a little bit more traction now, and I think we're going to have a rally, quite a good rally. Yeah.
What are you eyeballing, the S&P?
All of it. It's kind of all coming together. NASDAQ leading the way now, and it's actually looking pretty good for a bounce. Let's see how far it goes.
Good. 3.5 point drop, 5.5, and then a 20. It could be more on tap. Because as we pull up into this zone here, see, we've hit it. This will be the 4th time since we spiked it. And not only are we running into a zone, it was good support here. And of course, we always anticipate it's going to be good resistance until proven otherwise. Okay? And proven otherwise means we spike it, pull back, this confirms good support, and then we go. But as we go, remember that an important price, important area to sell was 28.86. So you're going to have some turbulence there. Okay. This morning, I think what happened is the buyers tried so hard here and so hard here. When I typed that commentary into the live alert channel, I said, you know, if we can't get over this zone right here, right now, then maybe the buyers are just going to step back. And they'll just have to get long at a lower price, which, if you're a buyer, that's a good thing. Buy low, sell high.
Okay, doke. Well, listen, thanks for the invite, Dwayne. It was a good show. Yeah,
sure?
much obliged. Yeah.
All right, John. Well, listen, I still need to have that talk with you, so we'll get together.
All right.
This afternoon,
yeah, thanks.
If you're available.
You,
all right.
You got it. All right, thanks.
All right, bye-bye. Okay. Cover the S&P and cover the Dow. Russell. And this is sitting on a 4-hour right now because I was showing this failed rally. Failed. We could get that rally back to the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. But if this thing lingers here and gets heavier, gravity gets a hold of it. Now, 30-minute version of the same chart, the one we were just on, was a 4-hour. Okay. I had to put it on that large of a time frame so that you would be able to see the larger move. And so given that larger move and those 4 failed attempts, and yes, we did fade the trade on one and took the run back up to the BBC. But what we really were most interested in is what if it hit the BBC, would it give us this? And it has so far. Is there more to come? We'll see. Actually, it's given us this and this. So, covered crude. Haven't triggered on the long side. NQ. Okay, we drew fibs, we drew a trend line. Let's get it off daily and get it back on 30 minutes. There we go. Now. Alright, on 30 minute, and last night October 7th, 1800. The red candle right there. Concierge Trade Alert for the NASDAQ. Consider selling. I got a new mouse and it's, well, it's not new. It's never been used. It's, I think I have to go into control panel and work on the settings. I think something could be amiss there. But the mouse needed to be replaced nonetheless. Alright, on the NQ, consider selling 74.15. 74. alerts went out at 7:40, so that's or 7:40 Eastern, 1940. All right, there it is, right there, 74:14, 74:15. Now the first move down. So 74.15. First trigger took us down to a swing low. 7,400. That's 15 points at $20 a point. So the market made $300 per contract available. Back above the trigger, down we go again. This time we get to 73.60. 73. Oh, swing low. Yeah, 73.60. So that's 74.60. So that's 55. Yeah. Should we just call it $1,000? And then one more time we get back above the trigger. Down we come again. From 74.15 to 72.85. I'll even use a calculator for this one. 74.15, just to make sure I get it right. 74.15 minus 72.86. That's 129 points at $20 a point. The market made $2,580 per contract available. $2,580. Let's start over. Aye. 2,580. Per contract available. That's what the market made available. You don't get out at the swing low or the swing high. If you are running your indicators, possibly catching an exit signal right here. Is that well off the low? Yes. How much time is left? 15 minutes. Is there a guarantee that we're going to get an exit signal here? No. Step lines pointed down. Price is trying to move higher. If price does move higher, we'll hook a turn crossing the CFMA1. And once the step line crosses the CFMA1, we're looking for a green close above the step line. I know you guys know that, but I want to point it out to you again and again, each and every day, until it's just second nature. Okay, now that was a Concierge Trade Alert. what we did on the NQ. NQ looked very indecisive in the early going. And I'm trying to see if we had anything early. Yeah. The early going last night on the NQ, we're looking at ourselves 74.10. Concierge Trade Alert was 15. And then on the Logic 247, it was 74.10. 74.10. $74.10 down to 7,400, down to 73.80, 73. Now, from the entry to the target at 73.80, we're talking 30 NQ points at $20 a point. And so the final target again from 74.10 to 73.80, that is 30 S&P points, $20 a point. So we're at $600 per contract traded, not per contract available, okay, per contract traded. Our exit signal, this will not be an exit signal. Okay, doesn't mean you can't take any profit that you might have. Now, getting out at the target, $600 per contract traded, do it all day long. Or you can wait for the exit signal. If you wait for the exit signal, then you find yourself down here, 72.90, up $1,500 lower. Now, of course, not going to get out at the swing low if this turns into an exit signal. Remember, for it to be a valid exit signal, the step line must cross the CFMA1, and then a green candle must close above the step line after it crosses. And so we've had a pretty nice leg down, retracement. We could see a deeper pullback, and we could certainly see another leg down. This may not be over. It was another opportunity to quintuple, sextuplet the entry to target by just doing exactly what I've taught you, and that is to be patient until the market prints an exit signal. Now, typically you need an extended move, and this is extended because the scaling to compensate for the ranges that we've had. Here's 70, 7,300, and here's 7,400. That's a $2,000 per contract move right there. Gives you an idea of how much we've had to scale this thing. Gold. Gold. Last night on gold. Concierge alert. Consider selling $11.99. Nope, we already marked this one. $267.90 per contract available. Soybeans, we had a no trigger up in this area. Bonds, I'm giving them a few more minutes and then I'm going to just mark them a no trigger. Oh, we'll give it a little bit more. Maybe give it into tomorrow. See what the Globex does before we mark it final. And that covers all of the markets. Okay. This looks good, but it's got to close. We need to see 28.82 before I want to start considering getting long. But then I got this right here. I'd much rather be getting long here. And I'm sure you can see that. Alright, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. Once again, we had a very, very blessed week in the Telegram channel. If anyone does not know how that works and how that operates, it's 24/7 around the clock. Last week we had one more time 118 total alerts. 24 of them just simply did not trigger. 2 remained open and moved into the new week. That gave us 92 we could take action on. 57 hit the full target. Now on this partial target, to give you an example of a partial target, I had a trade I recapped this morning, had 4 targets. It came within, it was a 10-point trade. It was 3 targets, and it was a 10-point trade. S&P, it came within 1 point of the final target. Okay, that has to get pushed into the PT column. Understand? Okay. So there were 74 profitable alerts because 18 of the actionable were stopped out. Very pleased with what we have found with the Logic 247 and the Passport service. This is truly giving every trader everything they need. The one stop shop slogan. Just don't have to go anywhere else. Don't have to look any further. It's right here. Doesn't guarantee anything other than the technology, the knowledge, the tools. It's here, and it's put on display for you in a very transparent and open book manner each day, both in the live training room and the alerts as they go out with their timestamps before they trigger, and with ample time to place the trade, which is important. Okay, so for a down day in the markets, it's a pretty good day to be an Emini Futures trader. how do you, James, you can visit the public channel, which I will give you a link to. Give me 1 second and I'll put that in the chat box for anyone that would like to have a look at what we've been up to. Remember, our beta test was 3 weeks. So that's the beta. You're welcome, Gary. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Alright, I'm going to send these to everyone that might not have them. Okay, that is the original CFRN Logic 247 beta test. Okay, and then after the beta test, I will put the public discussion. Alright, here comes the... Okay, so that's the beta test, the public recap of the original beta, and then that's the live channel. This is the public discussion. Okay, let me put that one in there too. Okay. So there you go, everybody. Okay, James asked a question, but there it is for everyone. Anytime you want to go over individual trades, you can book a mentoring session. We'll pick through them one by one. We could sit here all day going through. I mean, we're on alert number. Last alert that went out was number 569. Which doesn't count the 130, I think it was, during beta. I think we started over with number 1 after the beta test when we launched live the following week. So any questions you have, anything that you need, any way that I can help you, reach out, support at CFRN.net, or give us a call. 949-42-E-MINI. 949-423-6464. Now, today is a good word for the day. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. Elijah's destiny was to stand on Mount Carmel, call down fire from heaven, and deliver Israel from idolatry. But he could only get there one step at a time. That's how God works. First, God sent him to a brook at Cherith, which means covenantal cut. At some point in your spiritual journey, you must discover that God is a covenant-making, covenant-keeping God. He is the Lord who miraculously dried up the Jordan River. He made an axe head float and caused fish to swim into an empty net. Those are neat parlor tricks, except there's no trick. He actually did this. When God sent Elijah to Cherith, he told him this in 1 Kings 17:4. I have commanded the ravens to provide for you there. Had Elijah gone elsewhere, God wouldn't have met his need. Why? Because a covenant is two-sided. I have commanded the ravens to provide for you there. You do your part, God does his part. Now, sometimes God will speak truth into our life via the Holy Spirit, another man or woman, and we're like, okay, that sounds cool. Go ahead, God. It's your move. And no. When you're dealing with God, it's your move. He's such a gentleman. It's always your move. You make your move, he'll make his move. He needs to see a little something out of us first. Now, I have commanded the ravens to provide for you there. He couldn't go elsewhere because the ravens would be, hey, where's this guy we're supposed to feed? Next, God sent Elijah to Zarephath, saying, I have commanded a widow there to provide for you. 1 Kings 17:9. So, God used a flesh-eating bird and a penniless widow to feed Elijah. So, maybe we should just stop trying to second guess him. The Bible says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So here's the question. If you truly believe that scripture, why are you complaining and worrying and trying to figure everything out instead of just trusting him? Zarephath, by the way, means a crucible, a place where metal is refined. If you're going through a fiery trial today, rejoice. God is separating the gold from the impurities in your character. When you've passed the test at Cherith and Zarephath, you'll be ready for the blessing on Mount Carmel. Now, as you travel up through the Smoky Mountains, every other little town's a tourist attraction. We called them tourist traps, but we were never actually trapped. We just stayed there till we were out of money and then went home. Tourist attraction. And in these little towns, they have blacksmiths and goldsmiths and silversmiths and people making all kinds of things. You know, your obligatory Native American headdress, and you can buy the little drum. And I think the Native Americans, I find it all a bit insulting, but hey, it's in the Appalachia, it's hard to make a living, so that's what they do. And that runs all the way down through Georgia, North Mountains of Georgia, Stone Mountain. And it's everywhere. When you go into one of these blacksmith shops or goldsmith or silversmith, the silversmith in particular I want to talk about, because this is the one you've probably heard me talk about before. But some ladies were on a tour, they had a big tour bus, and they go in to see the silversmith, and they're kind of, as he's working and sweating with his apron on, the ladies start asking questions, and he explains that he has to hold the silver in the center, the heat of the fire, for exactly the right amount of time. If he pulls it out too early, it's worthless. If he holds it in too long, it's worthless. Has no value. None. Now, lady said, well, how do you know when it's actually time to pull it out? How do you know when it's done? And the answer, ask any silversmith. The answer is when I can see my reflection in it. That'll preach. Oh, that'll preach. I encourage you, Google up the scriptures about God and about the refining fire. And He will hold you, keep you, place you in that uncomfortable, perhaps even very, very hot situation. And you're screaming, get me out, let me out. But until the refiner sees his reflection, you're going to stay in the fire. So, what do we got to do? How do we, when God looks at us, how do we get to a point where He sees our reflection? That's what He's after. He's going to keep the pressure on. He's going to keep molding and shaping and molding and shaping. Because Jesus is there interceding, pleading our case, as He said He would. Think about that. Read the scriptures. Google and find them. You know, it's so much more powerful when you do the word search and you find the scriptures and you put them together and you come to the realization that, I promise you, if you follow this little rabbit down the trail, you'll have a grin. A nice one. Okay? Real nice. S&P trying to work its way back up. Okay? Now, don't forget, 2886 was a CTA sell. It was 3.5, 5.5, 20 points. When it gets back up to the trigger, could it just keep sailing? Could. Or it could, on this next candle, actually, there's only 9 minutes into the life of this candle, so we got 21 minutes left. It could run up and come back down all in the same candle. In fact, we're so very close. Swing high right now, 2886. So if you missed this long that I talked about a minute ago, you know, fading it back up to 2886, then don't forget you've got this overhead, you've got a zone overhead, you've got the previous swing high right there. I believe sellers will at least attempt to take it down. Doesn't mean they'll succeed. Doesn't mean they'll put in a new low. If you don't have your points for the day, they'll probably apply enough pressure that you could get your goal out, whatever it is. Okay? Alright. If you have any questions for me, shoot me an email. support@cfrn.net. Call us 949-42 Emini 949-423-6464. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.